Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. Hopefully you guys are having a phenomenal Wednesday. And with that being said, though, we've got a lot to get in today's show. Actually, not too much, but I'm going to make sure we have audio coming in through real quickly. It appears we do, but let's check. We are good to go. All right. So on today's show, we're going to be getting into a few different boxing things that have come out over the past 24-ish hours, at least since I was last live. And then I'll be also addressing any questions you guys may have. So as always, if you guys have any comments, questions, or topics for me to address on today's show, make sure to leave it in the chat. Your comments will pop up on the screen, and I'll be able to address them at that point in time. Also, make sure to leave a thumbs up. Hit that like button for me real quickly. I greatly appreciate that, especially if you're tuning in on YouTube. I tremendously appreciate the support. All right, so today's show, just a few different boxing topics we'll get into, and then we'll go from there. Starting off with this one. Terence "Bud" Crawford has called out Janibek ahead of his middleweight unification bout on December 6th. Significant. We heard news yesterday that Terence "Bud" Crawford is also looking to schedule his own fight in March. Here's what I personally think is going to happen. I think we're going to see Terence "Bud" Crawford return to the ring quite quickly in March against somebody at 160. Just a little bit of a tune-up fight. Get himself ready at 160. But the big news here is this. I do firmly believe that Terence "Bud" Crawford is not going to retire until he has accomplished becoming a world champion at another weight class. Therefore, lining up everything from 135 all the way up to 168. The only missing stone that he's currently got is 160. And the truth is, I think we can all admit, Terence "Bud" Crawford would be able to defeat Janibek, Carlos Adames, or Erickson Lubin, whoever the champions are. He is more than capable of defeating them. And I think that's what Terence "Bud" Crawford's doing. Here's what's significant about this, though. If you are Terence "Bud" Crawford, and you have the opportunity to do what very few people have ever done before, there's a legitimate chance, folks, that Terence "Bud" Crawford is able to go and become a 6th division world champion. Do we realize how significant that is? Terence "Bud" Crawford, once again, has a chance to become a 6th division world champion. That would solidify his name among some of the all-time legends of the sport. That Canelo Alvarez fight and victory right there is already one of the most significant and impressive wins in boxing history. If he does move down to 160 and fulfill what he just called out, which is Janibek, to go out there and fight, we would see Terence "Bud" Crawford become a world champion in 6 divisions and possibly, if he so chooses to, go make it undisputed by defeating Carlos Adames as well. Now, obviously, Janibek could lose to Erickson Lubin, so it's the winner of Janibek versus Laura, but still, we are looking at a legitimate possibility that Terence "Bud" Crawford becomes a 6 division weight world champion, and on top of that, becomes undisputed and yet again another weight class. My apologies on that. This is something significant, and we have to understand that for Terence "Bud" Crawford, this is a man who is already going to be going down as a first ballot Hall of Famer, already solidified himself as one of the all-time greats. And when I say that, I say it a little bit loosely in terms of, he's probably a top 15, 20, 25, 30, whatever it is, boxer. But if Terence "Bud" Crawford does add to his resume a 6th division world champion, completing the entire timeline of all the weight classes in between, and he does it for the 6th time, and then on top of that, he becomes undisputed at 160, we would have to have a legitimate conversation about Terence "Bud" Crawford going down as one of the top 10 boxers of all time. And I'm not joking by that. That's how solidified his resume would be if Terence "Bud" Crawford can pull it off. So that's huge news. Obviously, we're considering the rumors of Terence "Bud" Crawford possibly moving on and retiring post Canelo Alvarez fight, but it does appear that Terence "Bud" Crawford is returning to the ring in March for his own fight, which I do think will be a tune-up fight at 160, and then possibly summertime or early fall of 2026, going for world championship fights against Janibek, Laura winner. Huge news right there. As always, like I always like to say, make sure to leave your chats or comments in the chat section. I'll make sure to address them as we go throughout the duration of the show. All right, here's something else I want to address on today's show. We are quickly approaching the big fight this weekend between Erickson Lubin and Vergil Ortiz. Now, I'm going to give you guys a full preview of that fight on Friday's episode. We'll break down both fighters, give you guys my prediction of who I think is going to win. But I just want to throw out a hypothetical for you guys right now, because I don't think it's being talked about enough right now of the significance of what Erickson Lubin can do if he pulls off the win this weekend. If Erickson Lubin wins this weekend, Erickson Lubin will shake up the entire 154-pound weight class. Here's why. We already know that being talked about right now is Boots Ennis, Vergil Ortiz. In fact, Boots Ennis should be sitting ringside for this fight. We're all lining up this mega fight. And at the very bare minimum, we're looking at a place where Virgil Ortiz would go fight for a world championship if it's not against Boots Ennis. If Erickson Lubin walks in there and he pulls off the upset, which he is more than capable of doing, Erickson Lubin automatically solidifies himself as a man who gets a world title shot next. Or at least a big payday against a guy like Boots Ennis. And Virgil Ortiz would all of a sudden be in a no man's land in terms of not knowing where he's going to go. Erickson Lubin has the potential to shake up all of 154 this weekend. And the crazy thing about this is it's not necessarily a situation where it's a one-hit wonder. We look at Armando Resendez. Nobody expected that man to go out there and win. He had no chance, and yet he still proved everybody wrong. That's what makes boxing special. But when we look at somebody like Erickson Lubin, he has a legitimate chance to pull off the upset. Virgil Ortiz is the favorite, and rightfully so, and Virgil Ortiz is the better fighter. But when you step foot in a ring with another man, Erickson Lubin is a very talented fighter who has the potential to go beat Virgil Ortiz in a fight. Not that it's likely, but he has the ability to do so. And if Erickson Lubin does pull it off, 154 and all the plans can get thrown in the trash. That's how much power Erickson Lubin holds. So if Erickson Lubin gets everything done right this weekend, he goes out there and defeats Virgil Ortiz, all of a sudden you're looking at him as a big name at 154. He has all the names on the line for himself. He could go fight for any of the world championships, get a big payday with Boots Ennis. There is a lot in line for Virgil Ortiz and for Erickson Lubin in this fight. So we have to evaluate this because it's going to be a big fight this weekend with a lot of things on the line. Confirmed news. Callum Simpson will defend his European, Commonwealth, and British super middleweight titles against the English champion Troy Williamson in Leeds on December 20th, live on BBC 3 and iPlayer. All right, let's just be honest here. This was rumored a couple of days ago, and I brought it up. But let's just be honest. Callum Simpson is going to do an easy night's work, it should be at least, against this man, Troy Williamson. Not a good fight whatsoever. There's rumors of Callum Simpson fighting Hamza Shiraz, which would be a very big fight to make in Britain. Obviously, I think that's going to be a couple years down the line. But Troy Williamson, this is not a competitive fight. It should be an easy win for Callum Simpson, defending his British super middleweight title, and then move on. So Callum Simpson should have an easy win this weekend or in this fight, and we'll move on from there. Here's the last thing I want to wrap with today's show. Now, as always, though, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the like. I definitely appreciate that. That definitely helps me with YouTube. So make sure to hit that thumbs up for me real quick. But if there are any comments or topics you guys want me to address, make sure to leave it in the chat. And then I'll make sure to have those comments pop up on the screen, and we will address those conversations as I go throughout the rest of the show. But here's what I want to leave off today's show with, and it is talking about Chris Eubank Jr. I'm going to pull up a picture real quickly because he posted this picture on his X and social media platforms just about a day ago or so now. And here it is. I want everybody to take a second look at this picture real quickly. When we talk about Chris Eubank Jr., how do you not respect a man that looks like this after a fight? We look back in time when these two men, Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr., stepped from that ring earlier this year. We all admit that this probably is going to be the fight of the year. It's hard to imagine that fight gets beaten. The first fight was spectacular. Phenomenal. Great fight. But what we all knew in this fight is that it was a phenomenal fight to watch. It was entertaining. Here's what I want to talk about real quickly. It's time that people start respecting boxing a little bit more. When you look at a picture like this right here, when you have Chris Eubank Jr. following his fight with Conor Benn, how do you not respect this man even more? These two men went to absolute war. And a lot of time we don't see the aftermath. A lot of time guys don't post the post-fight pictures. We don't see what they look like post-fights, especially the fights that go to absolute wars like this fight was with Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. But I feel like we have to appreciate boxers a lot more in today's world because we just don't do it enough. When you talk about guys that are going for entertainment and you talk about Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, both went through 12 brutal rounds of boxing. And after the fight, Chris Eubank Jr. is over here looking like this. I think it's a dude. We don't give them our proper justice and respect for what these guys do for us. These guys are phenomenal entertainers, gave us incredible fights. I think we just need to give more respect to Chris Eubank Jr., give more respect to Conor Benn, and the guys that go to war in the ring. Because obviously, as you see in this picture right here, you don't play boxing. This is not a joke of a sport. These guys go out there and leave it all out there in that ring. And when they do it the way that they did in that first fight, they deserve their flowers and their respect because what they did in that ring that night was phenomenal. It was entertaining. It was the fight of the year. And I think just looking at pictures like this help us to kind of take a step back for a little bit and say, you know what? Hats off to both these men. We appreciate them for what they've done for the sport. We appreciate them for what they go through. And this is what true warriors look like after a fight. So hats off to Chris Eubank Jr. I'm glad he posted this. I know it's in line with the whole ambulance situation, all that stuff. But Chris Eubank Jr., one heck of a warrior. And hats off to him and Conor Benn for what they gave to us in the first fight. Hopefully, the second fight finds a way to somehow live up to the expectations of what that first fight was. But with that being said, though, I do appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in on today's show. I don't see any more comments in the comment section, so I'll be wrapping up today's show with that right there. But I hope you guys have a blessed rest of you guys' day. I will be back live on Thursday, so I'll see you guys tomorrow night show. May God bless you guys all. Have a phenomenal rest of you guys' day. I will see you guys back live tomorrow. God bless you guys all. And with that being said, SchuZ out. God bless y'all.